Hi, today I'm gonna be doing a presentation for Charlie Kirk, who was recently assassinated. Um, Very, very sad. I mean, I had come across his profile recently and his videos recently, a few months ago, and I particularly enjoyed him confronting all the crazy women that are out there. Um, so I had Joe Rogan and Charlie Sheen talk about that. That's I'll put these slides up on the internet and you can go to the clicks because that's worth listening to. I was listening to their whole conversation as well. Charlie Sheen's coming out. You know, this gets into our healthcare issues in this country. I mean, Charlie Sheen is, thank God, again, somebody else coming out of Hollywood, which, the Hollywood, this is not a healthy lifestyle that you all have been promoting for generations and generations. I mean, the sex and drugs and rock and roll, and it's hijacked the liberal uh, movements and the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party. We'll even see with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he, I loved it when the women they went on The View and the all the View women wanted him to like say, favor the foreigners, stop the immigration, and he's like, no, he wouldn't bow down to these ladies. So anyway, we'll see with Arnold Schwarzenegger later. But okay, so anyway, there's this is one of the problems right now with what's being covered in the news and the podcasters, which is what I'm going to be going into and kind of debunking and trying to examine how all of the podcasters on the right and the left and how everybody is just inflaming the issues and escalating the problems rather than redirecting the conversation towards either exactly what happened with the shooting. Is everything being, are we finding out everything? Was there somebody behind this? Ask the right questions, that this is in total transparency. And also, the two big problems. Tucker Carlson made the point that ultimately why Charlie Kirk was killed is because he was starting to ask some questions about the economics of this country, the income inequality, and the increasing income inequality. And that gets into the nouveau riche. And really, I mean, this is supposed to be a democratic and egalitarian country, and we've had our ups and downs with that stuff from the beginning. But if there was some progress made during the civil rights movement during the 60s and 70s, even though that's been hijacked by the illiberals, but we did have some progress. But in the 80s, uh, there was a backlash under the Reagan era. Um, in this case, I'm going to be looking at the Kennedy family. Cornelia Guest is in there. I mean, a lot of people I know are in there. Um, so, I've been pointing my finger at Cornelia, Deb of the decade, because she did bring back the whole debutante stuff. And elitist, I mean, I keep on telling Cornelia, you better be concerned about the 20-year prison sentence of Ghislaine Maxwell. And no, she's too busy trying to. She just came out with a new film with Richard Gere. What is it? Oh, Canada or something like that. So I'm like, well, Cornelia, everybody has been telling me for the past 20 years, you made your bed, you lie in it. You can't, even Bobby Kennedy said about his mother, in a People magazine interview, that she saw the world as friend versus foe, and her treatment of her staff and her children were at odds with her human rights advocacy work. Well, all the Kennedy's ladies, I mean, all of her daughters and children and grandchildren have followed in her footsteps. And then we have Jackie O. I mean, when Maureen, oh gosh, Maureen Callahan, Maureen Callahan and Megyn Kelly, they remind me of the White Chicks. I love that movie. I have to admit, with Maureen Kelly, it's like, wait a second, dressing up as Diana Ross for Halloween, that's like blackface? No, I'm like, look at the White Chicks movie. Isn't that like the same difference? I mean, come on, you guys. Like, it just, everybody's gone into La La Land and Wacko Bill. Um, so anyway, I digress. But there has been an agenda to hate babies, erase women, denigrate, the home and family, and the Phyllis Schlafly, she said that this would happen, but she was too busy cashing in like Ethel Kennedy to do anything about it. So, it's not rocket science to understand that if we don't bring some civility and manners and etiquette back into Washington and Washington society, um, you know, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change because you have, I mean, the government agencies are infected, absolutely infected with snot-nosed brats. And just people who want to, seat warm and party politic and cash in. I mean, I listened to poor Bobby Kennedy over at HHS, and I just, I even I sent well, video, but a message to Randy Hines in Las Vegas, who I had a contact with in the Kennedy camp, and said, would you tell Bobby to hire me, bring me over to HHS? Oh, they're afraid of us. The protective moms. White House laughs at us. Congress laughs at us. State Department as well. HHS is afraid of us. And they're, believe me, first we clean up the administrative stuff. You let me into HHR, the admin, Bobby, and that, I'll clean up that bullshit. And then you get rid of the support network of all of these upper assholes that have been coming in. They're all, oh gosh, what was it? Charlie Kirk in his interview with Governor Newsom of California hit it on the nail. It was brilliant. And one of the points that he made, he was like, you got all of the Democrats, you're filled with all of these PhDs and MBAs, you're in bed with academia, and you're crazy. And you've totally lost touch with your constituency and with reality. And that is what has infected Washington. It doesn't matter the federal government agencies, the think tanks, the IMF, the World Bank, all of them are infected and they have to be trained. And this gets into my solicitation. Since Ed Martin ignored me, I sent an email to Janine Pito. She's like, no, get rid of the thugs, get rid of the thugs. What about the white collar people? I solicit, I was like, okay, I'll play. So I, did it officially through the website of, is it the civil rights part of, I forget, but it's the DC courts, civil rights area. So I sent in my complaint. Of course, I gotta, we're not interested. I'm like, excuse me? You guys could blast. See, this is why I know I'm not going to get at the lower levels, at the seat warmers, they're never going to let this stuff go past. That's why if anybody's going to listen, it's going to have to be from the top. I don't want to school with all of these people. I mean, I should have a lawsuit against Foxcroft, 77,000 for international students a year. And I can barely get a minimum wage job because I'm supposedly a dumb bimbo like Susan Carlson, Tucker Carlson's wife. Well, no, I mean, I promise you, if anything happens to Tucker Carlson and all of that money, and Susan had to defend herself and provide for herself all by her little lonesome, she'd be up a creek without a paddle. And this is, the oh, you're just like Susan. Of course, they don't say that, but it's, the dumb, stupid woman who doesn't know how to do anything and had domestic help and a meal ticket husband her whole life, and she can't take care of herself. That's why I keep on getting either fired or discriminated against. And my family and friends who contend that I've been offered up as the sacrificial lamb to atone for the sins of white privilege can go and offer themselves up. And then there's all of this discussion about, oh gosh, I forget, Charlie Kirk, he had a really good thing for DEI. He was coming up with a whole bunch of new good, for their acronyms, what it really was. I call it discrimination, elimination, and intimidation, their DEI. So it just, they're all playing just party politics. The lawyer still, nothing is changing. Nothing is changing on the ground. And this is why which is what is concerning where this whole stuff, I mean, Megyn Kelly is, how dare you call us a communist, or a communist, how dare you call us fascist, how dare you, well, excuse me, first, you're not listening to anybody. I mean, every time, if I had a penny for every time Megyn Kelly and Glenn Greenwald claimed they knew what they were talking about because they have a law degree and they were lawyers, practicing lawyers, so they know what they're talking about, my Lord, I would be a wealthy woman. Now, both of them can explain to me in court where I am wrong, either on with the international conventions, constitutions, or penal and civil codes, and then RICO is another that I've gone after. Everybody keeps on dropping that. I mean, I'm like, no. I just don't drop the name of these things. Believe me, if I can get somebody to start, implementing and bringing these cases to the courts, the whole Me Too stuff, my God, look what they did with that. A bunch of lawyers who have their heads up there, what, they had to come up with a law in New York that was unconstitutional to get rid of the statute of limitations shit and then all of the cases they submitted, all sorts of illegal bullshit going on in there. So none of it is valid. All of it, I mean, once everybody starts suing everybody and you end up cleaning that, like what happened here. No, it was just smokes and mirrors. See, this is why there's no there with the Epstein stuff. Of course, there's issues. Where did he get his money? What was all that about? Why, why was he given money? Why was he empowered? What exactly was he doing? That's where the story is. Story of, a bunch of sugar babies who wanted to extort him and get in bed with the Me Too movement. I mean, yeah, of course, there's nothing really there except a bunch of gold digging whores. Um, and it's so, prevalent that either, well, everybody's doing it. I mean, Megyn Kelly even says, and everybody says, well, And Trump even said, oh, Epstein likes him young. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. So why is Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in prison all by her little lonesome? Um, so here we're going to get into, as I say, everybody knew. Well, one of the ruling elite families since the 60s has been the Kennedys. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, every Kennedy who's ever been arrested has said, you can't arrest me, I'm a Kennedy. I mean, in the entitlement, I mean, the Astors, the Vanderbilts, the DuPonts, all of the preppies, Carlson, Tucker Carlson, the Mellons, all of these families, yes, they were entitled. However, how shall I say it? There was a certain, let's try and be at least a little discreet. Let's not get our names in the newspapers. I mean, it was the same with my parents and I mean, all of the kids that I went to school with, you know, you can do anything you want because your parents aren't watching. And in fact, a lot of the kids, that's why they were getting into so much trouble. I mean, I even saw that when I was a kid and later as a mother, all of the children who were getting into trouble was because they were trying to call attention to themselves because their parents weren't paying any attention. They were too busy with their careers or, you know, playing the Capote Swans and doing lunch. I mean, excuse me. Megyn Kelly and Glenn Greenwald are no different than CZ Guest and Truman Capote. And Megyn Kelly is just glad that you know, Cornelia Guest, she became an old maid and she didn't make it in New York, and so she retired to Dallas. I think it was it Rob Lowe and Billy Bush, who one of them said, I think it was, he said, oh yeah, like Dallas is where everybody who can't make it something like that. You can't make it in New York, they go to Dallas. I'm like, oh, that's why Cornelia went there. They can't make it in Hollywood or New York. They end up in Dallas. I was like, oh, okay, that's why Cornelia really went there. Because she said she went to Dallas to be closer to Hollywood from New York. And I was like, well, she was in, I guess, upstate or maybe Connecticut. And I was like, Cornelia, I know you are a high school dropout, but Dallas, I think it's 10 minutes faster to fly from Dallas to Hollywood than New York to Hollywood. I think I Googled it. See, a high school dropout, Cornelia, she's given a podium. Let's see, Meghan McCain, don't even get me started on the Arizona. Well, hopefully now Charlie Kirk's widow, she's from Arizona. Maybe she'll start listening to me about all those issues. Because I got Arizona, Louisiana, Florida, Virginia, and DC, and just New York. Because they pick a fight with me about everything. And that, you know, the whole Foxcroft East Coast prep school, that's, you know, New York is there. In fact, in the Capote Swans, they even, I forget which one said, we made New York the center of the world. And yeah, I mean, New York and London, 60s and 70s were the top of the top. And they overspent themselves and over-indebted themselves into self-destruction in a $37 trillion debt for the American people. And this has got to stop. So with Charlie Kirk, this was very good. I think, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he made a good point here.
I was very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. Since then, there are endless amount of debates about how do we stop this. But we have to acknowledge that the cause of all of this is the social media companies that are dividing us, the mainstream media companies that are dividing us, the political parties, the Democrats that are dividing us, the Republicans that are dividing us. So we're getting hit from so many different angles. And we have to be very careful that we don't get in closer to that cliff. Because when you fall down that cliff, down there is no democracy. This is a time to show leadership, where USC students from the Democratic Club to the Republican Club can get together. Imagine that you get together and you start having communications together and solving problems together. You would have the media turn out in no time and cover that story.
So, yeah, he's right. But who is Arnold Schwarzenegger's ex-wife, Maria Shriver? Well, Maria Shriver is now with, and she's the Kennedy family. This is her mother was Bobby and JFK's sister. So Maria Shriver, her boyfriend is this Matt Dowd, who was ousted from MSNBC because of a remark that he made that they, I mean, it was a bad choice of words, and I don't think he knows or knew much about Charlie Kirk, or I don't know how much he knew about Charlie Kirk. I mean, it is true. There was a divisiveness that Charlie Kirk was bringing to the discussion, if you will, the debates, because he was actually confronting, he was actually going, wait a second, I'm not going to drink your Kool-Aid, nor am I going to pass it out. I'm going to question you. And, you know, with logic and evidence and something that nobody has been doing. You know, I mean, that's why I've been completely marginalized and canceled. I love that when I came across the word cancel culture. I was like, oh, that's what they did to me. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, thanks, gave a definition to what I've been experiencing. So, you know, it wasn't great choice of words. However, it was not, I mean, this type of stuff.
A massive health.
Well, we get this. Oh gosh, come on.
Well, that's Mark. He marks up medicines. As a nonprofit, we might pay a penny for a medicine.
Influential conservative activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated during a campus speaking event in Utah. President Trump announced Kirk's death in a post on Truth Social, writing, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." While many social media users expressed their heartbreak and horror at Kirk's passing, thousands of sick users also flooded social media to celebrate the passing of the co-founder of Turning Point USA. Disturbing reactions ranged from mocking memes to outright cheering.
Clap if you care. All right, let's move on.
One user shared a video of herself dancing with a caption that read, "Charlie Kirk was just shot in the neck. This is cause for celebration." Others have shared images showing party balloons and memes with phrases like "rest in piss." The popular X account Libs of TikTok posted a disturbing compilation of people openly mocking Kirk's death. The post called out the deranged leftists as pure evil. Kirk was a father of two who boasted millions of followers and billions of views for videos in which he would engage in fiery debates with students on college.
So, clearly that, but even that is how shall I say, freedom of speech. I mean, of course, you're a journalist and doing something like that, that would be grounds of firing. But the Kimmel and Dowd, here, let's play this with Dowd.
A massive healthcare tax hike looms on the horizon. Without action, tax credits that help hardworking Americans afford their health insurance will expire, hiking costs. Tell Congress, hardworking Americans can't weather a massive healthcare tax hike.
Meantime, we've got new fallout. MSNBC now firing a political analyst, Matthew Dowd, over comments that he made during the network's coverage of this tragedy.
But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
So
MSNBC's president.
Yeah, I don't know. Matt, probably somebody was saying into her ear, cut him off because this is not coming across it. But see, he said, following up to what was said previously, that is up here. I'm not going to replay all of that. You can go into these slides and the videos and listen to all of this. I'll post it down at the bottom. But, it wasn't, he's being targeted. And this, I think is what Arnold Schwarzenegger was kind of making, like, let's bring together, if you really bring it together and start discussing following the example that Charlie Kirk set, rather than using it to target. Because, Matt Dowd, now he's defending what he said. He did post in here and he said, my heart goes out to the family. I was just talking about the environment that we are in. And so, yeah, it was an unfortunate choice of words given the situation, but it was nothing like this dancing and celebrating. So you don't fall into, as Schwarzenegger said, go off the cliff on this and use it to target in a political witch hunt, which is what was done in Dowd's case. Kimmel, I forget exactly what exactly.
Who's that?
Oh, he marks up medicines.
340B medicine markups?
Bingo.
Kids like us live online, but so do traffickers.
Huh. Yeah.
Not everyone online is a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. There's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that.
You just heard from FCC Chairman Brandon Carr suggesting to Benny Johnson that the Trump administration could take action against ABC. And that is, in fact, in response to comments made by Jimmy Kimmel. And it turns out that Nexstar, Jimmy Kimmel's employer, has chosen to throw their employee under the bus ahead of a potential merger that they're hoping to get approved, by the way. So there's a lot to this story. Kimmel has now been suspended indefinitely over comments that he had made in regard to Tyler Robinson, the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin.
As a pediatrician, the health of my patients is not a political matter. Yet, under RFK Jr., the Department of Health and Human Services is making decisions based on politics, not science. Recently, they fired the entire CDC vaccine advisory panel, which doctors like me rely on to make vaccine decisions for my patients.
Now, here's what Kimmel had said, which led to so much ire being directed toward him. He said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." Now, obviously, Kimmel's statements were inaccurate. There was no indication that Tyler Robinson was a Trump supporter or a MAGA Republican. And to be honest with you, there's been a lot of irresponsible, jumping ahead of the gun and kind of characterizing this guy in order to, make the other political side look bad. But the one thing that has become pretty clear to me through what we've learned through this investigation so far is that he hated Charlie Kirk. He felt that Charlie Kirk was spreading hate, and that Robinson allegedly has a transgender partner and was particularly upset.
So that gets into the ongoing investigation. I guess we'll see more of that. But, Kimmel, as I say, probably a bad taste, but my goodness, I'm like, excuse me, you comedians. Who are your writers these days? Really, very bad taste, and can't you come up with some better material? And better ways to express yourselves, and also something relevant. They all get in the same bandwagon. They all fall down the same rabbit hole, and it's just very, very counterproductive. But this I wanted to play. This is Cher Denise. She does a lot of book reviews she's done the Kennedys, Ask Not. That's one on Bobby Kennedy, written by Maureen Callahan. What I agree with her there is Maureen Callahan really, and I keep on saying this, and this is part of the whole Mean Girls. Bad. Men, Kennedy men, bad. Kennedy women, good. I mean, she puts Jackie O up on a pedestal like you can't believe. I'm like, oh, excuse me, why don't you look about the marriage contract that Jackie O signed when she got married to her Greek tycoon? I'm like, excuse me, prostitution 101. So let's listen to.
Just sort of silly. She was just sort of always wanted to have a good time, never introspective, could never look back. She didn't want to talk about anything that had any depth. If you wanted to talk to her about anything you'd read, it would need to be real gossipy and sort of salacious in order to draw her attention to it. And I think that for somebody like that who isn't interested in philosophy, isn't interested in religion, isn't interested in art, isn't interested in anything that would grow your mind in the conversation and in the discussion of the topics, those sorts of people have to make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to tiny little, microaggressions or things that she feels like are unfair to her in any sense of the word. Because that's how they feel alive. For other people who are more intellectual, the things that really rivet them are deep conversations with other people, deep ideas, expressions of truth articulated in beautiful ways. But for Ethel, who didn't really care about any of that, how is she going to feel alive? By picking small fights about petty things.
Big Labor backed Kamala Harris, and now it's positioning itself against President Trump's innovation agenda.
Ethel once took a poke at editorial cartoonist Herblock, who had been critical of Bobby's authorization of wiretapping. Ethel was at a party when the cartoonist approached her, unaware of her anger. As he graciously extended his hand to her in friendship, Ethel planted her fist in his midsection, literally hauled off and slugged him in the stomach. If somebody crossed Bob, she put the black dot on your hand and she gave you the kiss of death.
So yeah, I advise, do recommend Cher Denise and her book reviews. But see, this has been the role model of the Kennedy women since JFK and RFK were assassinated. Neither one of them, Ethel Kennedy, she started the RFK Human Rights Organization, which now is run by Carrie, her daughter, Bobby's sister. And, everybody, I mean, I have to even crack up with any of the Kennedys, like Carrie and Caroline, all up in arms with Trump. I'm like, you little witches. You were jealous of Bobby, and you didn't want to give up any of the spotlight in Washington, and you were just plain jealous and didn't want him to win. And now look where things are. I mean, you cannot complain. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. I mean, it's horrible what Caroline did. Now that Bobby is with HHS, I mean, they didn't want him in the White House. Then it's HHS. Also, this gets my goat because it's the same thing that I've gotten from all my, my siblings, my mother, and all of my friends for basically just the same NVIDIA. There's a good, now I understand why one of the commandments, the 10 commandments, is thou shalt not covet. Because that really is what's going on here. And the Kennedy ladies are, as Cher Denise explained, this just, they don't have a sense of self. I mean, look at Maria Shriver and her book and her interviews on that. Here's one with Carrie. They don't have a sense of self and a sense of worth, and that's why their marriages never, work out. Their kids have behavioral problems, drug problems, or are psychopaths. I mean, we have the William Kennedy Smith. He raped some girl, and that was covered up. Ted Kennedy, we got Chappaquiddick. Marilyn Monroe. Now, this is here. That is Sidney Lawford, Kennedy McKelvey. So that was Peter Lawford's daughter. Peter Lawford, he was one of the Rat Pack of Hollywood. So see, the Kennedys have been New York, Washington, Hollywood since Joe Kennedy made all of the money and decided he wanted to get his son in the White House and buy the White House for his son. Ever since we've gone down the same path. Now, it's water under the bridge at this point. I think JFK and RFK were anomalies, and that's why they were killed. Bobby Kennedy, I do believe he is a good faith. And, it's just such a shame that the hornet's nest of women in that family are not supporting him. And, I have the same thing with my family and all of my friends. I'm like, you guys, you have no sense of civic duty. This country is going down the drain. We're headed towards another civil war. The world is headed towards another world war. And all you people care about is shopping or stabbing each other in the back. I mean, my brother, when he said, "Oh no, it's normal that you're discriminated against and targeted in all these hate crimes, and you can't find a lawyer," even though I know all sorts of people, I'm like, "Oh, Meghan McCain, you want to sit in my shoes for a little while? Megyn Kelly, you want to sit in my shoes for a little while? Carrie Kennedy, Caroline." all of you little ladies who are looking down your noses at me because I became a homemaker. And Tucker Carlson, I mean, can you imagine your wife in my position right now? Huh. Yeah, I think she'd be jumping off a bridge real quick. Any of these ladies here. Here, listen to this. See,
there's DIY.
Foreigners.
And there's doing it yourself.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder of Irina Zarutska. Here are the facts that many outlets have shamefully and intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Irina Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina, by a savage career criminal. This is a public transportation system that many in the area use every single day to go to school and work. Irina was on the train that night traveling.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
If you've been injured in an accident, call Marks and Harrison.
I called and they got me way more.
Today, I would like to address.
Okay. Yeah, we've all heard that. But see, the thing is a refugee, a Ukrainian refugee, has hate crimes, and that's front page news. And the White House is in an uproar. Oh, but it happens to an American woman for the past 18 years. Oh, no, too bad. You've been offered up as a sacrificial lamb. I mean, I keep on telling everybody that I know, well, offer yourself up as a sacrificial lamb. Thank you very much. Like, why have you decided that I'm supposed to be the sacrificial lamb? So I loved it. This woman, when I was looking for videos, I found this. I mean, I won't even play it. This woman's crazy. But I put it in here. Look at the psychopathologies that you're dealing with. And I love that on the in her profile, it says, comments welcome if politely expressed. You are one of the most vicious people out there, and you're saying that everybody can comment to you if they express themselves politely? It boggles the mind. Okay, I'm not going to play those because I think everybody is familiar with those. And really, Caroline and Carrie should be ashamed of themselves.
A massive healthcare tax hike looms on the horizon. Without action, tax credits that help hardworking Americans afford their health insurance will expire, hiking costs. Tell Congress, hardworking Americans can't weather a massive healthcare tax hike.
This canvas is awesome. It's kind of unlike any other work pant that I've worn before. Innovation is really about.
At one point, Ethel became angry with Bobby and David and took action. Directing them below deck, she proceeded to beat them with a hairbrush, the first time they had ever been punished in such a way. When the boat docked, Ethel told them once again to leave home. This time they complied. Bobby Jr. spent most of the summer in Africa with Lem Billings, and David went to a tennis and ski camp in Austria with his cousins Chris Lawford. David later claimed he was seduced at the camp by a 17-year-old girl who went after him after she found out that he was a Kennedy.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, also, one of the things that this was after, Bobby's father had been killed, and nobody in the family, friends, and the surrounding, nobody wants to get involved. Nobody wants to get involved in any unpleasantness. A friend of my mom's told me, oh, this has been going on for so long, there's nothing that can be done. This is Hill House School in England. We all know about Lord Mountbatten. So, and Lynn Billings, oh gosh, that's a piece of work. Cher Denise even was like, excuse me, how do you have this guy around your kids? So the, as the young woman, Isabel, here, anti-baby agenda. It's just like with, you know, Queen Victoria, we've had this children should be neither, or children should be seen but not heard attitude towards children because we're too busy living the good life. My favorite is one time a French person said to me, "I don't know, the French with the French children should be seen, not, excuse me, children should not be seen nor heard. They shouldn't be anywhere in the picture until they grow up." And I was like, if you go from France to Spain, you'll know exactly when you cross the border because you'll go into the villages, and in France nobody's in the streets. In Spain they're all over the place, particularly kids, and well, in Spain sometimes when it's the fiesta you'll see these 2-year-olds running around at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, shouldn't they be in bed? So, you know, it's extremism. Again, extremism is not good. So I agree with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Arnold, could you maybe work on your family there first and getting that stuff going on and have a little bit of a discussion with the Kennedy family on these issues instead of getting up on a podium and telling everybody? Because Lord, the Kennedy family is one piece of work. So, oh, okay, I'll go into this one the next time because I want to keep these, try and keep them short. But so that's the Kennedy family and how the institution of family and society are going off a cliff, as Arnold Schwarzenegger said, because of what's going on under his roof. So yeah, clean it up. Charity starts within the home.